Hello, everyone. Jai Jinendra. This is Pragya Jain from ISJS, and we are back with another thought-provoking lecture. Today, we have our president, Dr. Shugan Chanji, as the chairperson, and the speaker is Mr. Anubhav Jain, and we are going to talk about science that matters. Before we begin with the lecture, I would request our research associate, Harshit Mishra, to recite Mangalacharan.
Thank you, ma'am. First, I request you all, please join your hand. Then I recite the Namokara mantra. Namo Arihantanam. Namo Siddhanam. Namo Ayariyanam. Namo Uvajjayanam. Namo Loye Sab Sahunam. Eso Panchanamokaro Sab Pavapanasano Mangalanam Cha Savesim Padhamam Havai Mangalam Padhamam Havai Mangalam.
Thank you, Harshit. Thank you so much. Now, I
Jai
would
Jain.
request our director, Dr. Srinitra Pandey, to welcome you all and introduce the speaker.
Namaskar, Jai Jinendra. I warmly welcome you all to the 20th online lecture on Jainology by International School for Jain Studies, ISJS, a division of Amar Prerana Trust, Pune. First and foremost, I extend a respectful welcome to the chairperson of today's session, founder and president of International School for Jain Studies, Dr. Suganchan Jain. I am delighted to welcome our distinguished speaker, Mr. Anubhav Jain ji. A heartfelt welcome also to Dr. Sulekh Jain, co-founder of ISJS and past president of Jaina, the Federation of Jain Association in North America, USA. I welcome our advisor, Dr. Narendra Parsanji from USA. I welcome Abhaji. I extend my greetings to all attendees who have joined us from the different parts of the world, as well as my colleagues at ISJS. Before I we request Anubhavji to speak on the topic, I would like to briefly introduce about this lecture series and the speaker. So over the course of this initiative, many renowned scholars of Jainism from India and abroad have shared their insights, have shared their views. Esteemed international scholars such as Professor Johnny Cart, Professor Jeffrey Lang, Professor Robert Jaden-Bose, Professor Christopher Chappell, Professor Eva D. Clark, Professor Stephen Vos, Professor Piatre, Mr. Philip Wollen, Dr. Veena Howard, and many other overseas scholars have contributed on this platform. Similarly, from India, eminent scholars including Professor Maruti Nandan Tiwari, Professor Dharmchand Jain, Professor late Vinay Jain, Professor Susma Singhvi ji, Dr. Suganchan Jain, and several others have enriched this series with their perspectives on Jainology. For today's session, we are privileged to host a young, dynamic, and energetic mind, Mr. Anubhav Jain. With a professional background as a chartered accountant, he chose instead to dedicate himself to traditional value-based education, and in 2017 he founded the Arham Body of Divinity and Excellence, the Award School of Dreams, which has been making remarkable contribution in this field, in the field of education. He organizes knowledge camps, particularly for youths, and has been invited to speak at such events not only across India but also in the UK, Australia, UAE, and Kenya. Mr. Jain has authored several books and articles, and one of his most notable works is Bal Samachar, a bilingual, concise, and conceptualized version of Samachar designed particularly for children. And in recognition of his outstanding contributions to education, he has received several honors, including the Maitri Scholar Award, uh, and the Best Mangalarthi Award. So we are uh, feeling blessed to have such young mind uh, for the today's lecture. Once again, I welcome you all. Thank you. Over to you, Pragya ji.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the introduction. And now we are all interested to listen to Anubhav ji. And the topic for today's talk is Science That Matters, the Jain Quest for Inner Transformation. So let's welcome our speaker. The floor is yours, Anubhav.
Jai Chandra, everyone. All the great teachers, gurus, and all the intellectuals. I'm so overwhelmed, and I so do not deserve to speak in front of you all. Yet, I thank you all from the bottom of my heart that you have allowed me to speak in front of you. So, and thank you for the introduction. The topic that we have chosen for today's talk is Science That Matters, the Jain Quest for Inner Transformation. And the basis of this talk is going to be a 2000 years old text written by Acharya Kundakundev called Pañcāstikāya Saṅgraha. So I'll start by doing Mangalacharan. Ind sadvandeyanam tihuvanahid madhur visadvakanam antatit gunanam Namo Chinanam Chid Bhavanam. So before we start, let's first have a few concepts very clear on our mind. We're knocking on the wrong doors always. Whenever we have science entering our room, we suddenly start looking for validation. And most conversations between spirituality, philosophies, religion, and science, they end then and there. Because science would reject any notion of soul or consciousness. And we would say, okay, then if it is what science has to say, then we are not here for the science. And somehow, always they are standing against each other and not with each other. But the problem was never about what and who talks about what and who. The problem was about our basic urge to be happy. We were suffering, we are suffering, and this does not let us stay in the status quo. We want to change this state, and therefore this is all our journey is about, to seek happiness. So we knock the doors of spirituality to seek happiness. We knock the doors of philosophy to seek happiness. We knock the doors of the science to seek happiness. So everybody's intent is happiness. Ultimate game is happiness. And that happiness, if I'm seeking, is the acknowledgement of the suffering that I have. So therefore, today's talk is not a very contrast appearance that we would want to draw between science, philosophies, and spiritualities, but rather we would be collectively sitting down together and finding out what is it that one thing which everybody talks in one voice, and collectively everybody agrees to it, but nobody comes to the shared stage and acknowledges on that stage. So, generally when we talk about scientific progress, scientific discoveries, it is a good moment to take a pause to actually divide all those scientific advancements into this graph. Maybe we'll see whether it's a fundamental science or it's a derived science. And whatever it is it usable or is it not usable? So, if I am sitting in my own town, it's a small village, and I am just a layman, I am a farmer, and I till my land and I happily live with my family. What happens on the moon? What happens on the Mars? What is happening in space technologies? It may not affect me. So when we see science at the global stage and we are making the whole globe the subject of it, then science has fairly large amount of things to offer. But when I make this chart personally for myself, then most of the science, what it talks about, what all its discoveries that it offers, all the advancements which it offers, I suddenly realize that okay, I'm in the wrong room. These discussions, these discoveries, these papers are not for me. So what is for me? So this talk will not ask about where this suffering, where all the thoughts, the clutter of thoughts that comes into our mind, we'll be talking about what this suffering is, which thought led to that suffering, and what it does to us, what it does to our reality, our surroundings. So, if I'll ask that all these thoughts, the anxiety, the fear, the anger, the jealousy, all these thoughts, where do they come from? The science will say it's just, firing of the neurons, it's your brain. The spirituality will say it's the soul. But whatever it is, whatever origin that you name, a brain, the body, the neurons, or the soul, the gyan, the knowledge, the reality is that we all are suffering. And therefore, our subject matter today is not the battle between whether the consciousness exists or is it just the body and its chemicals doing the game? This is what we're going to decipher today. So we have two causes, two arguments based on from where all my suffering arise. So the event is one, my suffering, my worries, my anxieties. And there are two causes. If you ask the science, it will say that it's your brain doing the task. It's all coming from the chemicals in your brain. And, it is what is leading to all the experience that you literally feel and live through. The spirituality would say, no, it is your soul, it is your Atma that undergoes these events. So, which way to go further? We'll go with both of these ways because Jain Acharyas have named this tradition as the tradition of Anekanta. And therefore, we have doctrine of causation where we talk about Karan Karya Rahasya and we say that, okay, every work will not necessarily have only one cause. It has its multiplicity of cause that are leading to that one work, but those are very well categorized. So when we are looking at that particular object in which the work is happening, we make it the substantial cause. We call it upadan karan, and everything else that just is there present and it's helping it to evolve, all those causes become instrumental cause. So when I hear that okay, all the thoughts, all the emotions, they are all in my brain, it is all brain chemistry, it's circumstances, it's the body that is making me suffer, that is giving birth to all these thoughts, all these shared attachments, delusions. Fine, that's true. I'm not denying that the thought does not originate from the brain. From if I see that script from the nimitta perspective, it is exactly how it is happening. And it's obvious. While we are, as Jain tradition, believing in shared living of all these substances, and we acknowledge that the soul and the body, they are sharing the same space, ek kshetra avgah sambandh as we call it, then they are two different substances. Being two different substances, they have their own individual different identities. When they have their own different identities, individual identities, they will also evolve individually, fulfilling their own identities. So it will not be like, some part of this puzzle will be fulfilled by the body and some part of it would be fulfilled by soul. No, body will have entire mechanism and science behind whatever is going in this body. So if you see me furious, if you see me hungry, you will have all the clues of why I'm feeling that hunger or that anger in the body itself. You analyze its chemicals and it will tell you the trail. But is that the complete story? Is the question. And that's where the Anekantvad enters, and it says that, okay, do not fall prey to that analogy that, every solution, every problem will have only one solution. Two descriptions can both be true without competing for the same job. One each is stated at the correct level of cause. So neuroscience is not wrong. So what we'll be talking about on the later part of this talk, it is nothing to do with questioning science, questioning the research that goes behind in analyzing the different chemicals and the biology of this body. And it is also not saying that, okay, we are seeking validation from the science for what we're saying. We're simply talking about a 2000 years old text which explains and gives a very material explanation of the happenings of the world and why what happens with me happens. What is the root cause of it? What is the science behind it? So therefore, the topic of the talk is the science that matters. And it has two different meanings. A science, when the matter word is being taken for being a noun, we call that pudgal in our literature. So science that matters. What is that science which I, the knowing entity, which is hailed as invisible soul in our scriptures, how do I get this shape? How do I get the look? How do I, the one who cannot even touch, can now interact with this entire material world? So the science of this invisible entity, which has been called soul, it materializes, it interacts with the material world. So that is the one part of it that we'll be talking about. And the other point of it would be science, the verb, the matter, the verb. What actually matters? Okay, I have learned about all the things. You now tell me the essence, the crux of it. So this entire talk is divided into two parts. The first, the science that matters, which we'll be talking about the karma, the matter, pudgal, and its relationship with the thoughts of jiva, bhavs of jiva. And second, if that science is actually functional and if turns out to be true, then what is it for me that I must exercise in order to make me rid of the suffering that I'm enduring? So this is where this talk is going to start with. So the first question to all of us, does a thought have weight? And you ask a random physicist today, they will just deny it by saying consciousness is one of the hardest problems we have. It's a hard problem question, right? We honestly don't know where subjective experience fits into physical law. And you will be surprised. The same question was tackled by Acharya Kundev in his great text called Pravachan Sar in the Gatha 175 and 176, where he asked this question. See, I cannot put this nail in this empty space. I need to put this nail to hang my photograph. I need a wall. So I clearly see a material object cannot be hung onto invisible space. It needs a material base. So if you want to put a nail onto the wall, you need a wall. You cannot put a nail in empty space. So how come the soul, which could not be touched, which is not material, which is not made up of matter, which does not have the properties of touch, which does not have the property of taste, smell, color, how can you say that this soul is being binded by the karma? To bind, you need certain base. But Acharya Kundev has his own answers. Yes and no. Does a thought have weight? Yeah, it has and it does not. And it decides quite literally what sticks to your soul and what does not. And so with this thought, we are starting the journey of this great scripture called Pañcāstikāya Saṅgraha. It was written by Acharya Kundev. Just the name suggests, Panch, 5 Astikayas, the substances which have multiple pradeshas. It is the collection of it, and in a way, it defines the Jain metaphysics to the spiritual audience in a very succinct, very simple, to the point way. What it says, it has 173 gathas divided 2 major chapters and then 1 chulika. So the first chapter talks about the 6 substances, Jeev, Pudgal, Dharma, Akash, Kal. And then, we remove the kal, it being one pradeshi dravya. So we do not consider it kai. It is in its existence, but it is not called a kai. So therefore, 6 minus 1 becomes 5, which is Pañcāstikāya. In the second chapter, they also talk about 7 tattvas and 9 padarthas. And therefore, this entire text is very important in terms of if you want to understand about what is the worldview in the eyes of Tirthankaras, of the Jain Tirthankaras. Out of these 6 substances or 5 astikayas, there is only one material object. We call it murtika, and it is putkal. It is tangible. It could be seen, it could be touched, it could be felt. So therefore, out of these 6 dravyas or 5 astikayas, there is only one substance which you can actually interact with your senses. So then we enter to the first phase of this chapter where Acharya Dev explains the grammar of reality. How does this whole grammar, this whole reality plays out? And to this, we have Acharya Kundakundeva's Pañcāstikāya Saṅgraha as well as his Pravachan scripture in Pañcāstikāya Saṅgraha's 10th Gatha and the very simple Gatha very clearly in 93rd Gatha of Shri Pravachan Acharya Kundakundev says, Atho khalu davvamau davvani gunappagani bhadidani tehim puno pajjaya pajjay mudahi par samaya. He says that, assume the reality to be a just great roll of cloth. The cloth will have its width set. So if it's 1 meter width, it will always have the width of 1 meter. It is the quality of dravya. And then you take out the cloth from this roll and it will keep on coming. That is where its pariyaya svabhav begins, that it has constant utpad vyay happening in it. And therefore, utpad vyay and dravya, they actually define the entire reality in themselves. And this basis Gatha number 10 of Pañcāstikāya Saṅgraha and, the sutras from the great Tattvad Sutra, scripture written by Acharya Uma Swami Dev, who was the Patta Shishya of Acharya Kundakundev. The sutras which every Jain remembers these sutra. Sat dravya lakshanam, gun paryaya dravyam, utpad vyay dravya yuktam sat. So now the context. We started with a problem that I'm suffering. And, science told me that, okay, Anubhav, don't worry. You have this body, which is very fragile. At best, even if you try, nothing, it will at best live for 80, 90 years, 100 years, if you, do not trouble it. And if you choose to live a little bit uncomfortable lifestyle, it will even dispose itself before that age. So I said, okay, fine. So I just have to endure all this suffering for 80 to 90 years, and then I'll be free. This is what nirvana is. This is for getting free from all the riddles of life is. But then I came across this text. Acharya Kundakundev defines reality as anything that exists forever. Means the dravya, which has its own qualities and it has its own pariyaya, the modifications, its modes will keep on changing. The utpad vyay will keep on happening. But the very existence of the substance will never go away. The dravya in itself is indestructible. And then it poked another question. I see this body as a very fragile entity. It is bound to go away one day. It is slowly and gradually declining. And one day it will go away. I was thinking, because I was told that I am what this body is. But now there is a tiny little possibility that if I am the conscious knowing entity, and I have seen dead bodies in my past, the dead bodies, they remain. Even if you call the person dead, their body has nothing that has left it. Their body has exactly the same weight, same features. It's just that they're not interacting. They're not conscious. So if you tell me that things will go away, I clearly say not even a single atom of this body goes away. I either bury it or cremate it. All the particles remain here. And this is the law of thermodynamics. That's how we balance the equations. Not even single particle is lost along the way. No matter which chemical reaction or which equation you undergo, those elements which are going, nothing is going to pass away. So there is nothing that is being lost from the body and its particles. It's just changing its form. What about the person who I was interacting with? That person for whom I knew for 80 years. What about that person? If that person is also is part of this great cosmos, the reality, then that person's nature should also follow the same. And now we are back to the same question again. So if even after the occasion of death, I do not die, then the suffering also does not end. And therefore, just calling the self as body does not give me the relief, that my sufferings will end as I depart from this body. So that is where the whole investigation again opens up. And it's a very good thought. If you discard the possibility of the eternal soul, then your death becomes your liberation. It's simple. Because what liberation is? Being free from all the shackles of responsibilities, worries, karmas, right? So if death is giving me that free pass, why would I do all the tap, all the penances, all the hardships, all the restraints? Why? So this is the central idea. The moment I start seeing the reality from the lenses of how Tirthankaras have explained it. So, and science is backing this up. An echo worth naming carefully. A particle is best understood as an excitation of an underlying field. It never truly sits still. Utpad Vedravya, every substance arises, ceases, and endures simultaneously in every moment. And that's how nothing on this earth perishes ever. Everything transforms. So now I have a valid question. So before I ask this question, then the next question comes, what if, okay, so I know about this body and it will not perish. I'll have to either cremate it or bury it, or it will decay on its own course. So I know it will stay here. What will happen to me? Will I get a new body? Will I be roaming like a wandering soul? What will happen in the aftermath of it? So to answer that, before that, we are talking about what remains, the Pudgala. So Pudgal, the matter's original theory, what is given in the Pañcāstikāya Saṅgraha, Gatha 51, the four qualities of matter. A Pudgal is anything which, any substance that has sparsh, ras, gandha, varn, these four qualities. And with these four qualities, the Pudgal becomes a 3D printer of best genre. You give it anything, it has only four cartridges, four types of inks. It asks you, what color should I give it to this? What touch should I give to this object? What smell order should it be given? And what taste should it be given? The moment you define these four, by this printing machine, you can print any material object of this world. So instead of thinking and categorizing different matter particles, like this will do that, this will do that, like how science explains in terms of quarks, in terms of protons, neutrons, electrons, Jain Acharyas kept it very simple. They said, okay, ultimately, wherever you will be reaching, the building block of this entire visible cosmos are matter, are atoms. And those atoms have just four basic qualities. You play with these four qualities, you'll keep on making different substances. And Acharya give some examples of it as well. They say, okay, you look at the air. So air has its sparsh working. You can feel it, but you cannot see it. It does not. It is now, as of now, its varna is in invisibility mode. You cannot taste it. It cannot be tasted. You do not have any odor of the air that is blowing around. So out of four attributes in Vayu, the one attribute is we are capable of identifying it with. But when you see fire, you can see fire and you can touch fire. You should not, but you can touch fire. But does it have taste? No. Does it have any order? No. So the fire, it has out of the four, two things. So, you shut down to, not shut down as if you make the two of the attributes operate at their lowest form and you get fire. Then you go to water. Now you can touch it, you can see it, and it has a taste. Though it's tasteless, but it could be tasted. But it does not have any odor, it does not have any smell. So it has three of the attributes working. And then you have soil, you have earth, which could be touched, which could be tasted, which could be smelled, and which also has odor. So it also has color, it could be touched, it has color. So these only become the four great matters of the world, like which the Hindu philosophy hails, including the Akash. They make it Panchabhut Tattva. But for Jain Acharyas, they say it is clearly visible that the same water will turn into air. The same air, when taken in through a procedure, could be converted into water. So why do I have to consider them as separate, distinct bhut tattvas? They are made, their basic underlying element is same, that is Pudgal. So they have just generalized. So, this is how everybody is talking. Even the science also sees it like this. So this is just a joke in this. So now the rest of the talk now will depend on these two definitions. We have initiated with a question that if I do not go off with the departure from this body, and if I have to survive, is there a chance that I'll still be surrounded by the material objects like this body? And so we have been told that what a Pudgal is, it will have color, taste, smell, touch, perceptible, combinable, countable. What Jeev is, it is defined by its knowing capability, the one who feels the suffering, the one who yearns for joy, the one who thinks that, okay, I need to be happy and can I be made happy? So then what do we have to do? What is it? So now Acharya Dev is giving the biggest drop. He's saying that karma, as we call it, so generally we were saying I am karta, and whatever I do, my work becomes my karma. Acharya Dev says, no, it is not like this. Karma is not notional. It's not something figuratively talked about. It's not something that we're talking about from, some literature point of view. We are saying that there is this physical matter, and there is you who is having the weightful thoughts, the thoughts which have weight, like the thought of attachments, thought of aversions, and they both intertwine, they both interact, they can talk to each other. Karma is not a metaphor, karma is Pudgala. Not a symbol for consequence, not a moral bookkeeping device, actual matter, karma vargana, that streams into the and adheres to the soul quite literally. And for this, Acharya Dev gives a very beautiful gatha. He says, Mohu rago doso chitta pasado ya jasya bhavam hi vijjadi tassa suhova asuhova hodi parinamo. Whosoever disposition, whatever type of emotion you pick, if there is delusion, attachment, aversion, or clarity of mind, for that one, it will automatically result in the state of auspicious or inauspicious state. Means any thought, it kind of invites, and it has its own effect on the surrounding karmic matter, which is quite literally Pudgal from nature. And Acharya Dev starts this investigation from the Gatha number 62. He has already established, just to give you a basis, he has already established that, a fire will not burn the paper. A fire will just burn. If the paper has the nature to be burned, it will also burn when exposed to fire. The fire does not burn the paper. So what Acharya Dev was saying initially, that one substance operates within its own limits. It only functions based on its qualities. It does not do the work of another substance. So no two substances will do the work of one another. And now suddenly, Acharya Dev is saying, and he's proposing, that this soul can actually influence the Pudgal. And in turn, even that Pudgal can influence the soul. And that's how this reality becomes so complex. The basic idea was that the soul is separate and Pudgal is separate, and one substance should not do the work of another. But Acharya Kundkundev now tell us the science with which the matter operates, with which this entire visible reality operates around us. He says, Kammam pi sagam kuvvadi, sena sahavena samam pannam, jivo viya tarisao, kamma sahavena bhavena. What Acharya Dev is saying is from the absolute perspective, if I see it literally, physical karma acts upon itself and modifies itself according to its own material nature. In exactly the same way, the soul also modifies itself according to its own conscious thoughts and nature, which is instrumental to karma. No substance can perform the functions of another substance. Both the soul and matter are independent doers of their own respective modifications. So the next question which Acharya Dev himself asked, if the karma does the work of the karma, and if the jiva does the work of jiva, if jiva is actually undergoing through the emotions of anger, of suffering, of fear, anxiety, greed, jealousy, that is the work done by the jiva. And what the karma, the participating fellow subject, which is karma, it is also converting itself into the form of karmic influx. So Acharya Dev asks, Kammam kammam kuvvadi, jadiso appa karidi appanam, kid tasya phalam bhunjadi, appa kammam cha dedi phalam. If physical karma modifies only itself and the soul modifies only itself, then how can the soul experience the fruit of that karma, and how can the physical karma deliver its fruit to the soul? Now, it is where Acharya Dev is actually seeking an answer. I mean, the student who is present there in front of Acharya Dev is asking, when you say that the world operates with exact designated functionality, how do you explain this karmic consequence? If one substance cannot do the job of another, how do you explain this karmic consequence based on which your entire metaphysics is crafted? Like, there is swarga, there is naraka, there is punya, there is pap, there are thoughts worth doing, there are thoughts not worth doing. This entire thing depends because there is a relationship between my own thoughts and the outer reality. If my thoughts do not translate into my outer reality, then this whole thing will shatter. None of it will make sense. So Acharya Dev starts giving the true relationship between the karma and the self. Acharya Dev says, O gad gad richido, poggal ka ehi sabdo logo, sohemehi badrehi, nanta nantehi vividhehi. Acharya Dev says, the entire universe, the loka, is completely packed and filled in all directions with diverse, gross, and subtle physical material bodies of infinite and finite varieties. Consequently, wherever the soul exists, these karmic eligible material particles are already present there naturally. So it's like, the magnet is not pulling the iron bar closer to it. The iron bar is also not willfully going towards the magnet. The only problem is the magnet and the iron bar, they just happen to share the same space. You may now debate for the entire night who pulled whom. Did the magnet invite the iron bar, or did the iron bar pursue the magnet? But the important point over here is, wherever the soul exists, these karmic eligible material particles are already present there naturally. And if the thought of the soul is actually aimed at those external objects, if the soul is actually indulging in the heavy, weighful thoughts of rag and dvesh, of attachment and aversion, then Acharya Dev says, Ada kunadi sahavam tat gada poggala sabhavehim gachanti kamma bhavam annunno gah mav gada. When the soul undergoes its own impure states, such as delusion, moha, attachment, rag, or aversion, dvesh, then the physical matter, karmic molecules, present in that very space by their own material nature and mutual interpenetration transform themselves into the state of karma. So it's not about the soul exercising its control over its surrounding. No, it's not about it. It's just that how the shared existence create an environment where one substance automatically transforms on its own, and in its presence the other substance also chooses a different type of modification to happen. This is what Acharya Dev is saying, and this is how by the modern research in science and neurology this is also resonated. Not equivalence, but we see how slowly and gradually science has started addressing this relationship, which was documented by Acharya Kunkundev about 2000 years ago. So there are three places which we generally see. Neuroplasticity, we all know you repeat a certain type of habits on daily basis and suddenly your brain starts having hardware changes in it suiting. So you become better and better the jobs you do. So neurons that fire together, wire together. So the more I pay heed to certain type of emotion, more capable I become in that emotion, and that also slowly and gradually starts becoming my reality. In psychoneuroimmunology, also the placebo and nocebo literature, you must have heard about these effects. Like, if I am suffering from headache and we happen to share the same seats in a flight, and you said, okay, you know what? I have a medicine. If you take it, it will take away your headache. It works for me. And you give me plain sugar coated simple tablet, which is not medicinal property, and I'll have it. I'll actually feel better because it's not the medicinal intervention. It is my thought about it. So if I believe so, the medicine works. And I can have the best of the doctors. And if I'm not confident about the doctor, about the treatment he's giving me, so even despite receiving the best of the treatments, my body will not heal itself. This is what my thoughts are superimposing themselves in the shared reality of this body. And also the recent developments in DNA sciences and epigenetics. This is also being said that, okay, repeated behaviors, firstly, the research is done over mice and their generations of mice, and how their shared emotions, they have led to actually transformational changes in their bodies. So, just a simple experiment that we often see on the traffic lights that we stop by. So you're, running late and there is red light and you have to wait on the traffic light. Generally in 30-40 seconds, it will turn to green, but then you're constantly looking at your phone. Now, what will the traffic officers do? They will also add a timer just below the lights. So now you're seeing 40, 39, 38, 37. Now you can see how much time is left. And somehow, just with that intervention of knowledge, just how you know that, okay, 40 seconds to go, it suddenly calms you down. So, these clues, they directly have impact on your thoughts, and that knowledge that actually heals your anxiety, your unnecessary thoughts. The similar experiment is also done in hospitals where, if a patient is having very high blood pressure, he does not have a constant heart rate. So they will attach a monitor in front of him and it will beep. And what they figured out without any medicinal intervention, just because he's given the right time feedback of his heartbeats and his breathing rate, he hears the clue and then automatically he tries adjusting his own breathing. So these are the things how we know that, the matter has a great control by the mind on itself. So mind over matter is a great development in scientific arenas also, which is being. So this is the same thing. Your mind will be, other traditions, you take it, you do the notes of the Marcus Aurelius, your mind will be like its habitual thoughts. For the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. The Dhammapada in Buddhist literature, we are what we think. All that we are arises with our thoughts. With our thoughts, we make the world. So these are the parallels of this, not just from the science. So now we clearly know that whatever that goes in my mind, sooner or later, it will become the reality. Think of the times when you were really scared, oh, I'm going out, I don't want to be seen by those people. And when you have that fear, it is that very time you are more often than not seen by those people. The more you hide it, the more the reason, the chances of you getting caught increase. Similarly, it is being said that, how do I look? It is nothing but the translation of my thoughts. So my thoughts have the power to shape how the Pudgal around me reacts, how it behaves. So what do I do? So if I want to change my outer reality, I will not have to deal with the outer reality. I will have to deal with the thought that are in my mind. And this is what Acharya Dev in Pravachan Sar 78th Gatha and in the Gatha 143 of Pañcāstikāya Saṅgraha, he says, one who has known the truth and develops neither attachment nor aversion, whose upyog is pure, destroys the suffering born of embodiment. When the mind, speech, and body of the restrained one carry neither merit nor demerit, then occurs the stopping of the karma and the entire play. So the long story cut short, if the world is the screen, our bhavs are the remote. What Acharya Kunkundev is imposing, he's saying we waste a great part of our lifetimes controlling the screen, but rather what we could have been focusing on how to run this remote better. So you do not have to change anything in the outer reality because it doesn't listen to it. If you want to switch on the fan of your room, you do not have to have a long stick to make that fan run. You just have to find the switch. The switch runs the fan, not the fan runs the fan. The world dances onto the tunes of our bhav. If I correct my thoughts, if I become mindful of my bhav, the surrounding start resonating to those bhavs. They just mirror it. And that's what Acharya Kunkun Dev is trying to say. And he's saying that, okay, don't fix the world, fix the remote. The invisible soul surrounded by a material world through the science of karma and emotion, and the same science read to its end, hence that soul, the one instrument by which it was always going to be free. And that is our own bhav. So it's so good to know that I am the very same key which locks this lock. And to unlock it, I do not have to search another key. This very same key which has locked this lock will be helpful in unlocking this lock. The same bhav have resulted to this endless world of suffering. These very same bhavs, if they are done right, if we undo what we have done, if we wind them in the right direction, this lock could be unlocked. And therefore, the first junction which Acharya Kunkundev shared, the shared nimitta naimittik sambandh between my thoughts, my bhavs of rag, dvesh, moh, is that I become magnet, and the Pudgal karma somehow gets attracted towards me. And this is how the entire reality around me is crafted. And if I understand that these thoughts are materialized into the world, then the next thing would be this Jeev, which was focusing too much on Vajeev, which led to Ashrav and Bandh. I would rather say enough of this, enough of looking into Ajeev and feeling all the emotions of anger, of greed, of jealousy, of liking, disliking. I would rather do restraint. I'll just do stopping. I'll do somewhere that will lead to the undoing of all the material dust, karmic dust which is bound with me. And that will be, in a way, the ultimate liberation, which does not depend on the departure from this body, but which also solves this riddle that even after leaving this body, there will be no other matter particle which will be associating with me, rendering suffering to me. So this is what Acharya Dev is saying. And that second junction with this wisdom takes me to is the science of differentiation. What every psychiatrist will tell you, what every counselor, therapist will tell you. You practice some mindfulness. You just be comfortable in your own skin. You do not have to worry. You do not have to be anxious about the future. You do not have to regret about the past. Just be in the moment. Realize who you are. You're capable of all the things if you believe in yourself. That is the science of differentiation, the science that takes charge of your bhav, that you do not have to be ragi or dveshi, you do not have to delude yourself, you do not have to fall in prey to the different attractions of life. And that differentiation is realizing that I am a conscious being, that I have my karmic balance associated with me. That balance also leads to my generation of different thoughts, which I call bhav karma. And that also has very good attraction from the outer reality, from my family, from all the accumulations of this world we call no karma. And the karmas are being invited because of this cycle of bhav karma, looking at the no karma, six substances, achieve and all. And this is leading to bhav ashrav, bhav bandh, bhav samvar, bhav nirjara, bhav moksha, dravya ashrav, dravya bandh, dravya samvar, dravya nirjara, dravya moksha. This is what the Jain literature is. Now, as long as I am ignorant, this whole play works like a game of snake and ladder. It's a game of randomness. You do good, you do good, you do good. Suddenly something strikes, snake bites, you come back to the zero. But then we say, I do not want to play this probabilistic game. I want a game where I have some authority, I have some agency. So comes the game of chess. Now, it's not the game of chances. Now you have realized that you have the remote control. You can make this world dance to your tunes if you take control of your bhavs. So I was thinking that I am puppet in the hands of some greater mighty lord. But now suddenly I said, no, it is not the game of puppets. It is rather the game of snake and snake charmer. Snake charmer can play its flute, but to dance or to not dance, that agency lies with the snake. So far, I have been dancing to the tunes of the external pudgal that was attracting me, that was, fascinating me. It was literally hypnotizing me, and I was dancing to its tune. Suddenly, I read this text of Acharya Kundev, and it says, okay, Anubhav, you have agency. You decide what you think, not your circumstances. So stop dancing to the tune of this snake charmer. You're not here to dance. And when that happens, the magic happens, the liberation happens, the suffering ends. And this is the entire beautiful science which matters. So, all the scientific advancements that are coming to our way, they are for sure making our lives comfortable. But the problem with a caged rabbit whose cage is too comfortable is that caged rabbit does not want to break free. And it's actually a curse. So the science, I don't want it to make my life comfortable. I would rather want it to make me beware of the consequences if I lose this opportunity, this chance, what may lie ahead in the coming future. So Acharya Kundev will not sugarcoat it. He'll say, if you do not take charge of your bhav today, the Pudgal is going to take care of your entire future forever. So with this thought and with this realization that we all, by understanding how material is materialized, matter is materialized, we understand the science of differentiation, the science of Bhed Vigyan, the real science which our acharyas talk about, and take charge, take agency of our lives and make it more beautiful than what it already is. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Anubhav ji. It was like wonderful. You gave us the full crash course of Pañcāstikāya in these 40 minutes, and you just have to open your eyes, and everything is around you. So, thank you so much. The floor is now open for questions. If you have any questions, comments, please share with us. Sir, you want to say something, Pandeyji?
No, I don't have any question. Actually, completely, you can say my mind was absorbed, so I don't have any question. I have to correlate many things. So, yeah, thank you.
I have this question. So you asked, does a thought have weight? And I think you concluded that it is. So you keep Ragadi in the category of Pudgal matter,
Yeah.
right?
So how the weight of the thoughts is explained by Acharya Kunkundev in his text Pañcāstikāya Saṅgraha as well as Pravachan Sar. He says, just like the Pudgal has the property of Snigdhan Rukshatva, it has that delicacy which is the binding force. So how two matter particles unite. Similarly, the thought of the soul will automatically gain that weight the moment it hooks itself onto some other pudgal. So when I find something attractive and send my ankle to that particular object, I want to have it. And it's so simple. I went to the mall. I liked a shirt. I liked it. And next thing you know is it is in my bag. Next day, you know, I'm wearing it. What led to me that what led to that shirt being on my body? It is not my money, it is not the shirt, it is that event of liking. So that liking has the potential to bind anything. So if I do not have money, I would say, okay, one day I'm going to have this car. And you know, eventually, if you'll meet me after 10-15 years, you will find me with that car or even a better car because I idealized it. I liked it. So the binding force makes the thought of the soul heavy. It has weight. And therefore, with that weight, we become heavy. We become bonded. The shackles of karma grab us. The actual term for it is Parasamaya and Swasamaya, 94th Gatha of Pravachan Sar. Just after describing the 93rd Gatha in the whole reality, Atho Khalu Dabbamao, Davvani Gudappagani Bhanidani, Tehim Puno Pajjaya, Pajjay Mudahi Parasamaya. Acharya Kunkundev goes on to say, so those who are just mesmerized by this great dance of Paryay, they are parsamay. They will always be in the trap of those magnificent paryay. The saman jatiya or asaman jatiya dravya paryay will always keep hold of such jivas. So yes, their thought were heavy in that context. Not technically like materially heavy, but because they were going towards, they're inclined towards the matter. Therefore, they're being called happy and they're potent enough to attract the karmic consequence.
So the law of
Anubhav, I'll just ask a question. Can I ask a question?
Yeah, please.
What is the relation between mind and soul and the thought?
Okay. So first, if we talk about talk from the perspective of the sciences, so they'll have mind, brain, and
No,
all
please
these things. And
restrict to Kunkundacharya, no?
yeah, so when we are talking about the mind, the soul, and the third thing, you would say the karma, right?
Thoughts.
Thoughts. Okay, thoughts. Yeah. So the soul is the entity which is we define it by the knower. Okay, it has its own conduct, the way it is thinking, the way it is thinking about any object. So that will be its like how we say the mode of charitra gun, that we'll call bhāva, its thought. And the mind is the resultant thought arising in that very charitra gun ki paryay because of the dravya mana, which in the parity of man, vachan and kaya, the trinity of man, vachan, kaya, which is all a material, which is made up of matter. So the work done by the dravya mana becomes the bhav mana, and it is also the thought. So the man, I mean the gyan which is hooked to the dravya man becomes bhav man. The The Gyan which is hooked to the Dravya Vachan becomes the thought, that initiation that we are taking becomes Bhav. So it will be our own Paryay of Charitra Gun. So
And thank you very much.
Thank you. I would request Sulekji to say something.
Am I to say something now?
I'm requesting Sulekji to say something. I am not sure. Yeah.
I was just busy listening, so I don't have any question, but it's very educational for me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So now I would request Shuganji to give his chairperson remarks.
Let me first compliment you, Anubhav, for a very beautiful presentation of the text. And you took us very nicely through the various texts to understand the flow of, that origin and the cessation of suffering. Now, one thing from the topic I was seeing is the question like I asked you, mind, thought, and soul. Now, this question always, remains complicated or unanswered, and different people have different solutions. My thing is, what is suffering? Suffering is that we know soul and matter are two. When soul is bound with matter, that is suffering. And what is, non-suffering? When they separate. Like, Bhed Vigyan, you said, if the soul separates itself from the matter bounding, the end of suffering comes. Now the question is how the matter acts with soul. So you talk of, karmas and other things. See, karmas on their own, like matter, they are rising and they are yielding results. They have nothing to do with the soul. It is how the soul interacts with that. Now, soul is a conceptual thing, while matter is a concrete thing. How do they interact? And this question, I think Kunkunda also has said, like you talk of nimitta and upadan. So this can be this like, upkar. Upkar is the word used in the text, that it is the upkar of one on the other. So my own perception is that the soul, when it is bonded with delusion, raga, dvesh, mohi jisko kehte hain ye, when it is bound with this, then the state of the soul is covered by a thin layer of matter. And this thin layer of matter is the delusion and the experiences, previous experiences. So when the soul manifests itself, if it is in pure state, it will be just of its own nature and others. But when it manifests through this delusion, then these thoughts occur, good or bad thoughts occur, and that's how they start affecting the flow. And you talk of PNI and other things. See, the psychic mind is first, and then it affects the Dravyaman, which is closer, we to say, to the heart. And through this, these thoughts and the associated emotions, they flow through the bloodstream. This is what PNI has discovered, and other scientists have shown. And through the bloodstream, these emotions and other things, they start affecting the brain, and through brain, they grow through the whole body. So this is the inside chemistry. But my own thing is that suffering is association of, soul with the matter karma, like a bird in the cage. And how we do, what adds to it and what subtracts to it, how to get rid of it, that we have indicated by the Sat Tattvas. So this is my thinking. I admire your presentation. I would request you to, I hope we have your next lecture, whereby you go deep into the scientific aspects of these things. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. That's so humbling to hear. Also, just to add this, in the 176 Katha of Pravachan, sir, what you're mentioning right now. So this question was raised that how can soul be binded with the karma when the soul is invisible entity? It is not material. It is, like you said, conceptual, as in it does not have the properties of sparsha, gandha, and varna. And so Acharya Dev gives in the 176 Katha this explanation. Just as invisible soul knows the visible, can see the visible objects, similarly, the untouchable soul could be touched or could be bonded by the touchable karmas. And he gives one beautiful example. If a boy is playing with a toy made up of like it's a pot, it's a toy made and the boy is playing with it. One of his friends comes, they both start playing with the toy. Now, when the friend starts to depart, he also takes the toy along with it. And the boy sitting on the other corner of the house starts running towards the toy. Acharya Kunkundev says, is this boy bonded with its toy? And Acharya answers, it is not literal. The bondage is not literal. The bondage is actually conceptual, that this thinks this is my toy. And that is the raga which leads to the bonding of the karma. This is how he defines that, how we know. So if I am a bird in the cage, the suffering would also be that first it is, I have been taken away from my independence. So I am dependent. But if I have to be free, before I break free from this cage, I'll have to first realize that this cage does not belong to me. So the cage breaks two times. One mentally, that is inner science of Bhed Vigyan, and then actually when the karmic matter departs. So that is Dravya Moksha, and this is Drishti Moksha, when you realize that this is the cage and this is not the place I belong to. So yeah, it's a beautiful.
To take you for, I don't want to discuss theory of it. What does soul do? Either we say, look at the second Tattva Sutra, darshan and gyan, upyog jo hote hain iske. Then we say the five things, the activity of soul, which is, chaya, upsham, other things, and the last is in its own nature. So when the soul decides to be in its own nature, then it doesn't bother. That is the state we want to be. Otherwise, the other four states are, fighting, doing something. And second thing is, if the soul is pure, it will not bind. So that means there is a binding already.
Yes.
And that binding is of that's what I said, moho, delusion.
Yes.
And that attracts me.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
This is also wonderful. I hope we all sit together and have a long discussion on these topics. Thank you so much. Thank you, Anubhav. Thank you, Shuganji. And thank you, all of you. But to have a formal vote of thanks, I would request Dr. Naveen Srivastav to please come ahead.
Oh, wow, what a lecture. Thanks, Pragyaji, for giving me an opportunity to share my vote of thanks. Respected Dr. Shugan Jainji, founder and president of ISJS, Dr. Shulek Jainji, co-founder and advisor of ISJS, distinguished speaker, Mr. Anubhav Jainji, esteemed scholars, colleagues, and dear participants. It is my great privilege on behalf of the International School for Jain Studies to propose the vote of thanks for the insightful lecture on science and that matters, the Jain quest for the inner transformation. At the outset, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to Mr. Anubhav Jainji for taking us through the profound Jain understanding of the relationship between matter and the immaterial soul with a special reference to Pañcāstikāya Saṅgraha. His presentation offered us a fascinating perspective on karma, not merely as a metaphor or religious concept, but as a form of matter that interacts with the soul. One of the most interesting points of this lecture was to explaining the bhāva, or our thoughts and emotions, as the link between soul and karma. The idea that transformation begins with our thoughts, emotion, and inner state give a practical meaning of Jain path of spiritual development. Mr. Jain has also explained very beautifully the Bhed Vigyan. The connection between the ancient Jain insight and modern scientific research on how thoughts and emotions can affect the body was also very interesting. It is very interesting to hear, learn more and more. It shows how Jain philosophy encourages us to look within and understand how the inner thoughts and feelings influence our actions, experiences, and spiritual growth. For this wonderful and insightful lecture, I once again extend my heartfelt thanks to Mr. Anubhav Jain. I would also like to express my sincere gratitude to Dr. Shugan Jainji for chairing the session and sharing his valuable insight. His words always encourage us to look deeper, think more deeply, and explore new and innovative directions. Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable words and gratitude. We are equally grateful to Dr. Shulek Jainji for his continued guidance, encouragement, support, and academic activities of the institution. We also extend our sincerely thanks to Dr. Narendra Parson, the advisor of ISJS, Ms. Ava Jain for their continued support and encouragement to ISJS. I would also like to express my heartfelt thanks to our august audience. Without the presence, energy, and participation of such an encouraging audience, no lecture can truly be meaningful on any platform. Your enthusiasm and question encourage us to explore new ideas and look at our subject from different directions. Thank you all for your valuable presence, energy, and encouragement. I am delighted to see so many familiar faces in this August gathering. I may not able to take everyone's names individually, and I sincerely apologize for that. Please know that your presence and support are deeply valued. From the bottom of my heart, I thank each and every one of you for being with us today. I would also like to thank my wonderful IESS team, Dr. Pandey, Dr. Ashok Singh, Dr. Muthu Prakash, Dr. Anaita Hus, Ms. Pragya Ji, Mr. Harshit Mishra, Mr. Susil Jana, and Mr. Gopal Kudle for their support and effort in making this program successful. Finally, on the behalf of ISJS, extend my thanks, sincerely thanks to all the distinguished speakers, especially Mr. Anubhav Jainji, respected chair, Dr. Shugan Jainji, and advisor, and the entire team, and all the participants for making this session meaningful and enriched. I thank you once again. Thank you. Jai Jinendra.
Thank you very much, Naveen ji, and thank you all of you for coming and joining. I hope this lecture will keep us thinking, and we will meet soon. Stay tuned. Thank you, Jai Jinendra.
Jai
Jai
Jinendra.
Jinendra.
Yeah,
Jinendra.
yeah.